first of all, thank you for being here. Could you please state your name for the camera?
Suzanne Busby.
Okay, we hear that you have a special, connection to Elvis Presley. So, would you mind sharing that connection and the story attached to it? Maybe?
I will. Elvis, before he became famous, worked as a truck driver for Crown Electric. Crown Electric was owned by Gladys and Tip Tipler, who was Gladys Tipler was my second cousin. And at that time and in that era, everybody went downtown to shop because there was no shopping anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And every time we left downtown, my mother and I, we would always stop by Gladys and Tip's, who were on Poplar Avenue, catty-cornered across from the old Pop Tunes, which is right around Lauderdale, that area. And they were on the south side of the street, and we would stop by and visit with them. We went in, and about that time, a young man came through with dirty jeans and a dirty t-shirt, with his t-shirt rolled up on the side, and Gladys, who was always effervescent, said, "Oh, you need to meet the new star. He's just cut his first record. This is Elvis Presley."
Wow.
And with that, he was a very shy at that point in time. I'm sure he still was, but he was still very, very shy, and he ducked his head and said, "Yes, ma'am." And my mother met him, and I met him. I was probably 12 or 13 at the time. And he collected whatever it was that he was collecting and went on out, and Gladys said, "Well, what did you think? What did you think?" And my mother, in a very typical 50s, said, "Well, if he'd cut his hair and took a bath, he'd be okay." And Gladys and Tip remained friends with Elvis. When he did his first concert in Memphis, which was at the old Westwood Park, she was given tickets, and we went, and we were on like the first or second row. And Gladys and Elvis remained friends all through his life. On her birthday, he would always send for her and send tickets when he was playing in Las Vegas, and he would fly she and Tip out, and they would enjoy his show, and he would recognize her as it being her birthday. When Elvis died, Tip had died previously, but Gladys was invited to the funeral. And Gladys would not go to the funeral because she said she always wanted to remember him just as he was. But that was how I knew Elvis, probably as a 12-year-old, and he always was somebody who had worked for my cousin versus Elvis Presley.
Your husband actually lived on Audubon. How did you all make that connection early on that you didn't?
No, no. Only really when Rhodes started bringing up the Elvis and Audubon Drive connection did we even talk about it.
Oh.
It was just not something that we'd ever really talked about.
Wow. It's interesting.
Well, thank you. I'm glad we got to hear that, because earlier we had actually heard, she has a connection, and you mentioned it, but I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
We missed out on that the first time.
That's okay.
But
It's I think that's one of the things that the generation, my generation and Larry's generation, so many people have connections back to Elvis from either when he was just starting to be famous or before he was famous, because Memphis at that time was much, much smaller, and a lot of people knew everybody. But that's the connection that we had.
Those are great stories.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking again.